Noong 1979, little me shook hands with George Lucas, who shared the dream of revolutionizing the movie industry by making a full-featured film 100% gamit ang computer animation, when neither the technology, software, nor blueprints were even invented yet. Ngayon, nag-animate kami ng mga paborito ninyong childhood movies, continuing to bring to life worlds you never imagined were possible. I was Vice President of Industrial Light and Magic, digitally creating the X-Wings you see flying in Star Wars films. The challenge wasn't just creating it, but creating it on computers that had less technology than an Apple smartwatch. Halos 3 taon rin ito inabot, but we hit our big milestone when we helped develop digital image compositing, which combined multiple images together in a convincing and realistic way. But after 7 years of research and development, we started costing more money than we made for George. And we knew there was a high chance he would sell the division. And with it, our hopes of creating the first computer animated movie. Among colleagues, we all knew what we were. Sacked. No backing, no direction, and no time. But just when I was going to tell my family that I was going to be unemployed, may nakilala kaming lalaki who just been ousted from his own company and was looking for crazy, ambitious individuals like us. Natuwa siya sa technology na ginawa namin, sa aming vision to create something that many said wasn't possible. He, like us, was a pioneer and was the only person willing enough to invest in a company that was losing more money than we were making. So, we took our computers, floppy disks, and a team of 40 tech prodigies at nagsimula kami magtrabaho sa aming bagong leader, Steve Jobs. Steve was impressed by our work, sure, pero naniniwala siyang we needed to learn to walk before we could run. And instead of making movies, we were to sell our technology, inspire some backing, and show them what we've been creating. That sort of thing. And well, that proved to be even harder than computer-generated images. With a history na kasama si George Lucas and Steve Jobs, expectations were sky high for something revolutionary, something completely above the technological capabilities of that time. Worst of all, we learned the hard way that no one wanted to learn a completely new computer and different software despite what came out the other end. Out of the thousands we had created, we sold less than 300 computers. Madaming tumawag sa amin na failures, saying the computer was too complicated and too expensive, and that the animation was poor. Hearing those words broke me. It made me wonder if I had wasted my life on something completely worthless, and if I would ever amount to anything. And just as I was believing my life was nothing but failure, we unexpectedly received a call that made me remember why we were fighting so hard to change the world. It turned out, from that small 300 computers that we sold, Disney Animation Studios was one of the few that purchased one. Hindi rin nila nagustuhan ang mga computers namin, but they loved our ideas and saw what we were capable of achieving. So, instead of trying to create computer animated films themselves and buying individual computers from us, they proposed an entirely new deal, but it would take years until they came back to us. So we got straight to it. We designed and developed the tech, we modeled characters, we lit scenes, we calculated the trajectories of light rays. It was calculus mixed with caffeine and a side of too much pizza and Chinese takeout. Umabot ito ng ilang araw, linggo, buwan. By the end of it, I and my esteemed colleagues were more fried than the CPUs. But we had it ready, our most seminal short film, Luxo Jr., a 2-minute animated short film about a lamp and a ball. It was slow and it was rough, pero ito ang pinakamagandang creation na nagawa namin, and it would serve as our future mascot. It was an instant classic, received well by audiences and even nominated for an Oscar. I felt like we did it. We made a computer-animated movie, and was the itch gone? Did we achieve our dreams? Maybe, but we couldn't celebrate kasi masyado kaming busy worrying about finances. Steve thought after all this work, people would line up in droves, begging to buy our technology. But it turned out we spent so much time that we were now on the verge of bankruptcy. Maybe people would have lined up, but we didn't even have the money to open the doors to customers. Imagine that, we were running out of money while we sat on technology that might as well have been magic. We had to switch things up and we had no choice but to get creative. Nahirapan kami i-develop ang technology namin dahil paubos na ang pera namin. Nawalan kami ng pera dahil hindi gusto ng mga tao ang technology namin. So I don't want to say we sold out, but we made animations for commercials. Yep, we used state-of-the-art computer technology to help sell soda, bubblegum, and insurance. These animated commercials were successful enough, but it only kept us barely afloat. In any failure, there are two parts. There is the event itself, with all the disappointment, confusion, and shame. And then, there is our reaction to it. It is the second part that we can control. So we took control. We tinkered on the side and learned to walk, as Steve would say. And finally, sa pera na naipon namin mula sa mga commercials, we were able to strike a deal with Disney. It was one promise, one shot. A historic $26 million deal. We redirected all of our energies into this one movie for Disney. We had to. Now one wrong move and it was back to square one. It was the biggest gamble of my life, but I believed in what we were doing. So what if we'd failed a lot of times? If you aren't experiencing failure, then you are making a far worse mistake. You are being driven by the desire to avoid it. And so we got to work. We locked the doors, made a list of do's and don'ts. We didn't want an I want song. We didn't want a villain. No happy villages. No love story. And then we were finally ready. Sinabit namin ang script namin sa Disney. A script that we thought would impress all those stakeholders. It was a disaster. So much so that production on the film had to be stopped immediately. Hindi sila galit. They were disappointed. They needed time to reconsider the script and probably the deal. In hindsight, we were lucky they didn't immediately demolish our office and sell our computer as junkyard scraps. So we held our breath. Our dream was hanging by a thread. Naghahanda ako for the worst, for the door to shut in our face for the last time. Until finally, they approach us with one word: rewrite. Isang pangalawang pagkakataon. This time, we decided we would write an entirely new story. One that embodied what we truly believed in. Hindi kami movie writers, and we barely had experience in filmmaking, having no idea where to even begin. But we knew one thing, that this version wasn't going to be for those stakeholders or for Disney. It was going to be for us. A story that spoke about friendship, goodwill, and acceptance, which were all the things we were going through. A story that would bring people, young and old, together. A story that would continue for generations. Yun yung A Toy Story. They loved it, and instantly we were given the green light to continue with production. We began hiring any animator willing to work for us, which wasn't many because we paid so little. But the people who did join understood they were going to be a part of something larger than themselves. Because Toy Story isn't just our first computer-generated film. It is a film that took nearly a decade to accomplish because we had to create our own technology and innovate every day. It is a film that battled through bankruptcy and uncertainty. Isa siyang pelikula na tungkol sa studio that dared to make the impossible possible. Nung nirelease ang Toy Story, ginulat nito ang mundo. And had it failed, we wouldn't be here today creating our computer-animated featured films. Pero hindi ito nangyari. It was the biggest and best gamble of all of our lives. Disney was so impressed that they ended up signing multiple movie deals with us, creating the partnership you know as Pixar Animation and Disney Studios. Eventually, Disney bought us for $7.4 billion in an all-stock deal, making the man who funded and supported our journey, Steve Jobs, the largest shareholder of Disney. Throughout the years, gumawa kami ng mga films that continue to be loved by millions around the world. Films like Finding Nemo, a movie about a loving father who chases after his son only to learn that he needs to let go. Monsters, Inc., a film that teaches us to give people a chance despite our differences. Or Ratatouille, a film about a rat who can cook because not everyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere. It wasn't just me. Team effort ito with people who had grit and passion for what they loved. My name is Edwin Catmull, and I'm one of the many people of Pixar who dared to dream with nothing but our imaginations and the vision to take moviegoers on an entirely new journey to infinity and beyond.